you don't just jump at the low-hanging fruit. And the people whose money is in your hand, and you're going to tell them, okay, your money is in my hand, and this is how you're going to get it back. It's rude, it's wicked, it's unlawful, it's not right. It lacks good faith, it lacks humanity, because we are sitting here because we are well enough to come. Do you know how many people are languishing at home? Do you know how many people who are not even, they are in such a bad state, they are not even aware of what's going on, but it's their investments that have been keeping them alive. You don't know, you don't care. And you do not touch the old people. You do not touch the funds of the aged when you have not done other things. You have not done due diligence. You have not checked on what other things you do. We are not your last resort. You haven't reached the point of last resort. If they think they've reached the point of last resort, they should prove it to us and show us why this is the only solution. And in any case, it's not a lawful solution. So they should not even go there.
I'm an old man. I have so many type of diseases. I can't tell you all. But I spend a lot on drugs. And very soon, I will start dialysis. I don't need their money. My own money. I want to live on. Nobody would look after me. I lost my wife. I live alone. Who will look after me? That means government wants me to get rid of me.
Right. So this is how it gets and where it gets. That the immediate past Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, Sophia Akuffo, who's been president of the African Court before, twice or so, that she takes a decision, and that is that pensioners have been demonstrating, protesting or picketing at the Ministry of Finance every day. And on the 5th day, she decides that this is where I want to spend my time. And yesterday, the country, just too many people felt so proud of what she did. Let's begin with Clara. Clara, so because forgive me, because of where you stand, there are those who have been focusing on what she has done and asked the question. She said it, that look, she is in a privileged position. She has better terms of pension. Yes, she has bonds. She has money in bonds. She doesn't feel that she will be as affected as other people. And yet she feels that it is time for her to get in. What's ran through your mind when you heard the news that it was the former Chief Justice who had joined the pensioners there, and using language that was so clear and direct?
Thank you very much, Samson. When this whole debt restructuring started, I promised myself that I would not say anything with respect to this issue. But I resent a little my decision not to speak on the issue on this occasion. First of all, I want to commend all the pensioners for coming out to make their voices heard, to use the democratic rights that we have in the Constitution to picket. This clearly states the reason why we advocate for democratic spaces and that we advocate for rights. It is so that everybody, because when you protect the rights of one person, it protects the rights of everybody. So I am proud of them, and I wish to commend them for coming out to make their voices heard in spite of their age. I also want to commend the former Chief Justice for using a powerful voice that she has for the greater public good. for a lot of other people who may be voiceless. So I commend the Chief Justice highly for joining in picketing and then capturing saliently and very well articulated with conviction the pain of the pensioners in this situation. Look, the measure of every society, we know, is how it treats its vulnerable. And I think the former Chief Justice captured it in the best ways that I could imagine. We just can't throw our vulnerable under the bridge. These are people who are old. Then we just go after, because this is more or less really, it's very similar to going for somebody's property because you can. It's because you have the power to do so. We should be protecting our vulnerable, the vulnerable in society, rather than taking advantage of them because we think they don't have what it takes to fight for their rights. So I want to commend the former Chief Justice and the pensioners for this very bold step that they have taken. It could not have been easy, particularly for someone in her position, to speak the way that she did. So I want to say thank you to the former Chief Justice of Kufu for using her voice when it matters the most for the benefit of all pensioners in the country. And look, like she noted, I hesitated. Part of the reason I didn't want to speak is you don't want people to come and ask you, you are a lawyer, are you an economist? But there are some of the things that, yes, as lawyers, we are good at asking questions and at relevant questions. The question the former Chief Justice also noted is, it is not as if you came out to us and said, look, this is where we are. We are looking for ways to go out of there. These are the options that we have. These are the gifts and takes. These are the positives of this option and the negatives of this option. So looking at all of these options, this is what we think will work the most. I haven't seen that. You've just come with, well, this is what we want to do. So yeah, you come on board. Or well, if you don't come on board, well, you are going to suffer. As the former Chief Justice noted, I don't think this is the best way to go about it. I think what the economist should be doing is not going after people who express their views and then showing whether they are competent to speak to the issue or not, but to address the things that they say. And most importantly, we should be seeing options that work, options that protect the people, rather than options that throw the people under the bus. Okay. And the current, of course, the issues that they are fighting, yes, I think it's a legitimate cause. I think we need to go back to the drawing table and find more, not just lawful and humane ways of handling the crisis that we are at the moment.
Senor, thank you very much for making time to join us. Senor Hosea is convener of the Individual Bondholders Forum. You know, the pensioners have been going to this place all week, and they have really broken people's hearts. We have seen people sit on TV and literally cry whilst they are attempting to discuss this issue and thinking about the fact that these are our mothers, our fathers, our grandfathers, our grandmothers, you know, having to be at this place and asking and begging the states, when they are the ones who have put their money to the state, to help the state rather, they are there begging. From what you have been telling your people, now the deadline is over. Yesterday, the CJ appeared there, and I believe that is what forced the finance minister to engage with them again, but his position has not changed. What do you say?
I think that this DD would write many stories, and it won't be good for leadership as a country. The picketing of our pensioners is an embarrassing scene. It's an unfortunate scene. I'm happy that the Chief Justice was there yesterday. It just gives us hope that we still have people with conscience and influence at the same time. A lot of that has been missing in this country, and I think that gives us some sense of hope that things would really get better with voices like that being heard. But on the issue of the picketing in particular, it's an immaterial it's an immaterial activity relative to this DDE. It's great with the advocacy and the optics of it. The finance minister was clear for something, and let's just face it. All his press releases post our advocacy jointly that one, individuals were free to participate. He also said two, if you decide to hold on to your old bonds, I will pay. Three, he has also said that he can't guarantee what happens on the secondary market. The truth is that the finance minister has never guaranteed the tradability or the liquidity on the secondary market. So that submission itself was moot. Then, four, right here, if you want to participate, these are the options you have. I think that we were asking too much from the minister. He has said that you are free not to participate.
Why was it important then to exempt others?
It wasn't important to exempt anybody because technically he hadn't exempted anybody till the DD of DD3.
No, my question to you is, Labour stood up and insisted that if pension funds were not exempted, there would be hell. The minister.
Yes, so maybe he went to respond to hell because all the pension funds needed to
that has been exempted. Initially, it was not exempted. It has been exempted. So what is if exemption is
hold on,
if exemption has no importance or significance,
it's immaterial.
Why did they have to fight over the exemption?
No, you see, one, for pension funds, they were never exempted in the first round. They were never exempted in the second round. If you read the memorandum, it's actually in the third round that they have actually been exempted.
That's my question.
But yes, for us as individuals, the government has been categorical that individual bondholders are free not to participate. It never said banks are free not to participate. It never said pension funds are free not to participate. It said individual bondholders are free not to participate. But in any case, this was a voluntary exercise.
Voluntary,
You know it is not voluntary really. Exercise.
You know that you have said on this same platform that the voluntary was a deceptive word.
So that's what I told you that in the beginning. You are right. That's what I told you that in the beginning, the minister had done it voluntary by force. But after our advocacy and our engagement and his own public utterances and his press statement, the thing has now become voluntary. All that we needed to do is to get people to understand the implications of it and not go and participate. Self-exemption was the first option that the finance minister gave us. Check the press release, I've forgotten the date, I think that before the DD3 was issued. It was clear after our meetings with him that one, you individuals free to participate. So it means you have a self-exemption option. Two, I will pay. Three, if you want to participate, these are the conditions. 15% for those who are pensioners, 10% over 5 years for those who are not pensioners.
When you started, when you started as individual bondholders working together with the other groups, your watchword was exempt.
Absolutely.
If it was not significant, why was that what you were pursuing?
No, something. Times changed. That was significant then when it was voluntary by force. But when the man has met you and told you and given you the assurances, gone out to make public statements that if you hold on to your old bonds, he will pay, I think that was a problem anymore. In the beginning, you have
been on this platform with Deputy Minister Dr. John Kuma. Absolutely. And John Kuma has said that we can't guarantee, the tradability of your bonds. Your bonds will be worthless.
Like I said,
if you don't participate, it will be worthless. Are these people not entitled to think that, to say that we are not trusting what you are telling us now? Exempt us rather.
let's take a back step and why everybody had to jump into the advocacy. First, you started saying it was voluntary. Then you said that our existing bonds will be worthless. You weren't talking about it being tradable or not tradable. That's a technical matter. So when you start that, then you feed into the perception that you intend to really go after us who will not submit to this your voluntary process. So we refused to. And we came out and we fought it. Then we have the minister come out to say, okay, the terms that we gave you, we are changing it. But the first thing you need to understand is that it is voluntary. For you, you are free not to participate. And for the first time, he comes out to say he will pay every old bond. And he was referring to the individuals. At that point, it was clear that now the thing had moved from voluntary by force to voluntary. His first option is that you self-exempt. So for me, and for us at IBF, our advocacy was to educate people so that they go and self-exempt.
Yes,
and I think that the data is out. I think that you have put up data which is inaccurate,
again,
I should probably.
Again, you were fighting that if people didn't sign up, they were in a precarious situation that if they took up suits, the government has insulated all its assets. So you cannot even get a judgment, any property of government to attach.
Absolutely.
That has changed?
It hasn't changed. That is why we spent our last week educating people why they shouldn't submit to the DDE. We spent time educating them why you shouldn't sign on to the DDE. I didn't see us going to get any exemption for absolute exemption for individuals. The question here, Samson, for all you know, somebody with 15% who thinks he trusts that legal construct may want to do it. Let him go. My job is to let you know the risk. Let you know that that new DDE, it's not in your best interest.
How do you trust a man who is giving you these assurances and has broken his promises, is defaulting on his bonds?
In fact, this is my favorite question these days. One, if you don't trust government and you have two contracts, do you go for a contract that is tighter or the one that is weaker or loose? Francis, Samson, you're a lawyer. Won't you get your contract even tighter when you don't trust? Your client doesn't trust a counterparty in the contract. It's simple.
What is the meaning of a contract? What is the meaning of a contract when one party can get up unilaterally and decide what he wants to do with it, and then I begin to suffer and have to beg him?
Allow me to walk through the logic. I'm saying that I don't trust you. And I have an existing contract with you. You're offering me a new contract. That even gives me a weaker legal standing. Question, which of the contracts will you choose? I'll keep my old contract because that gives me better options. Then two, somebody says, I trust government. If you trust government, then you should trust what Foriata and John Kuma said, that they will pay. In that instance, the question again, which of the options give you the best economic return? It's the old bonds. So either way, left or right, it's the old bonds. And we spent our time educating our people. Just do not submit to it. The most important thing, and I'm happy the Chief Justice is in, and she restated that what was going on was illegal if our rights are not enforced as people who did not submit to the DDE. We have a legal course of action.
All right.
And the minister is compelled to honor his obligation.
Well, that's another matter. You can have a judgment. You can have a judgment on paper. That's just on paper. You may not get anything out of it. Hold on. Dr. Edu Ananientwi is convener of the Pensioner Bondholders Forum. Dr. Edu Ananientwi, the senior is telling us here now that all these 5 years that you have been at the Ministry of Financing picketing has been an act of ignorance and useless, really. You just wasted your time.
Hello?
Yes, Dr. Edu Ananientwi, did you hear my question?
I think, I'm sorry to say, Senior does not really understand appreciate the difference between exemption, the issuer exempting you, and you yourself exempting yourself. You first asked, why were they asking for exemption? And I'm sorry if people think that they didn't know from day one that this exchange was voluntary. I can't understand why people are saying that they didn't know the exchange was voluntary. It has been voluntary from day one. It has been voluntary from day one. Let us not pollute the minds of people. It has been voluntary from day one. Nobody said it was compulsory. It has been voluntary from day one. That one must be drawn home. From day one, it is voluntary. And now let me explain the difference between. And I said this to the minister yesterday, that the minister is a market player or was a market player. I, as being a market regulator, I've worked for SEC 1999 to 2004, and then again from 2011 to 2016. I understand the market. And I said, Minister, you and I understand the market, securities market, and these issues. And you know, and I know, that there is a difference between issuer exemption and you self-exempting yourself. And I've been explaining this. Let me explain again so that people who don't understand would understand. When the issuer exempts you, the issuer is saying, as for you, the debt that I owe you, the bonds that you are holding, I don't have any problems dealing with it the way I have been dealing with it previously. I'm going to deal with it like that. I am not restructuring that. It will stand as it is, and I will continue to obey everything that is every term. You have no problem. I will not restructure that because I can handle everything relating to your coupons, your principal, everything. So I will not restructure it. It's not part of the restructuring. These ones that I am having problems going through, that I realized one day I will not be able to pay coupon or maturity the way it is, that I am restructuring. If you don't come in under the restructuring and you decide to stay on your own, then you have been told, I have already told you, that as for this group of bonds, I will not be able, I'll find it difficult to service. That is why I'm asking you to bring in for a new one. So if you decide you won't bring in for a new one, your stand is different. You have self-exempted yourself. You are not like the person that I, the issuer, has exempted or have exempted from the program. So I'm telling people, and I've used the term for it. If you exempt me, and the time comes for you to pay both coupon and principal, and you are unable, then I say, but are you not the same person who say, as for me, as for my bonds, you don't have a problem with it, so you won't restructure? Why are you not telling me this? That is where the investor will be asking the issuer. If you are the other side, and your bonds, there's a coupon to be paid or principal to be paid, and you go and the issuer says, I don't have the means to do that, the issuer rather will tell you, yes, that is why I told you bring it for a new one, because I am not going to be able to deal with the old one in that manner. I am now calling, that is why I started calling that bond. That bond will become I told you so bond.
Okay.
I told you so bond.
Dr. Edwana Nyanchi.
I told you I will not be able to handle.
Okay. All right, Dr. Edwana Nyanchi. Yes. As a lawyer, this is where you have gotten to. The finance minister sought to listen to you yesterday again, but actually just repeated to you that there was no point. There was nothing that could be done again. So what is it? It's over. The process is done and dusted, isn't it? Did I lose Dr. Edwana Nyanchi?
Yes, I'm on.
Yeah, you heard me?
No.
The process is done and dusted. You didn't get what you asked for.
Yes.
So what's up?
We will continue. You see, what people should understand is that we want a cover. This exemption is to give us cover, a proper cover.
So where are you continuing? Where are you continuing to? Are you going to the IMF or where? The minister says
we will continue to pick it until the minister gives us exemption. We know the difference between exemption by the issuer and exemption by ourselves or self-exemption. If other people don't understand, it's not their own problem.
All right.
I understand. That has been the job I have done the major part of my life as a working person.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. I need to get back to the studio, get a brief, some comments, and then we can move on. We have a number of issues to look at. Yes, begin with you, Sami Jenfi. How have you appreciated what has been going on so far?
What we are currently experiencing is a classical case of predatory governance.
The minister says,
this is not Boame Namemwao. This is predatory governance, where the government we have elected to protect us and to turn our fortunes around has turned around to prey on us by expropriating our hard-earned monies, the lifetime savings of Ghanaians, monies that are meant for the health needs or the rent needs or educational needs of citizens of this country. That is rude, that is wickedness, and that is unacceptable. You see, our brother Senor is getting something wrong, and that is where I want to start my submission from. He would have been right if the finance minister and the Akufo-Addo Bawumia government were saying that you are free not to sign onto the DDEP, their so-called debt exchange program, which in my view is an indirect expropriation program and not a debt exchange program. He would have been right if that is what government is saying. But in the second amended and restated exchange memorandum, Samson, government is saying that yes, you are free to sign or not to sign. But if your bonds mature before I conclude this process, I'm not going to pay you. Hasn't Senor seen those provisions in the second amended and restated agreement?
Right. Yeah.
And if I can read those relevant provisions, it reads that eligible holders holding eligible bonds maturing on or prior to the settlement date. The settlement date is when government will be concluding these whole processes, and I will define what they mean by settlement date. Okay, they are saying will not receive a final interest payment except for accrued interest payable for tendering holders as described below, and a final principal payment regardless of whether an eligible holder has tendered or not on such maturing eligible bonds. So they are saying that if your bonds mature before the settlement date, they are not going to pay you what you are entitled to. So this is not voluntary, as Senor would have us believe. If you look at the definition of settlement date in the second amended and restated memorandum, it says that settlement date means 14 February 2023 or such date as the Republic shall designate. So there is no certainty with regards to that settlement date. That's number one. And number two, government is not telling these bondholders when it even intends to pay them, okay, their monies. Because as a standard, government is saying we won't pay. On the 6th of February this year, there were some bondholders whose maturities, coupons matured, and government had to pay. Till date, government hasn't paid them. And they have not been told when government will pay them. So the picture our brother Senor is surprisingly painting this morning, for me, is not accurate at all. You see, Samson, you have a situation where pensioners who have worked so hard for this country, who are supposed to enjoy the fruit of their labor on retirement, enjoy a restful and peaceful retirement are picketing in the scorching sun at the precincts of the Ministry of Finance. The President of the Republic has not made any statement about this. The Vice President and Chairman of the Economic Management Team, Bawumia, is dead silent on the matter. And the Ministry of Finance is telling them that you can go to hell. My word is final. There is nothing I will do about your concerns. That is unacceptable, and that should not be justified. You see, people think that this so-called debt exchange program is the panacea to our economic woes. I disagree. It is not the panacea to our economic woes. And if we do not address the issues that have brought the country on its knees, it doesn't matter how many times we do debt exchange, we will return into this same ditch.
Senior and his group and the others, they've done the maths, and they've shown that there is more that we can do than pursuing
exactly
this, or even pursuing the individual bondholders.
Exactly.
Right.
Because you see, we shouldn't have gotten here in the first place if we had done the right things. Something we are talking about a government that is the most resource government in the history of this country, the luckiest government. They've had unprecedented oil revenue, unprecedented tax revenue, unprecedented borrowed funds. And what do they have to show for? A destroyed economy with interest rates hovering around 45%, debt to GDP over 100%, and a draconian debt exchange program that seeks to expropriate the investments of people. And that is because of the reckless borrowing and expenditures they have engaged in the last 6 years. That is the fundamental root cause of the problem we have on our hands. And until that is addressed, what we are engaging is like fetching water with a basket. These people are only looking for 3 billion. That is why they are doing this debt exchange program. 3 billion. COVID alone gave them $6 billion. $6 billion. The IMF gave us a $1 billion rapid credit facility in 2020 and another $1 billion special drawing rights facility in 2021. They have wasted all that. The World Bank has given us over $1.3 billion. Check how much the European Union, the African Development Bank have given us. The problem is not money. The problem has to do with the government's unbridled penchant for profligacy, misplaced priorities. How can you be asking pensioners, individual bondholders, to accept austerity measures like haircuts on their coupons and all that? At a time you are funding a $450 million so-called National Cathedral project. You've taken taxpayers' money, 133 million Ghana cedis, and you've given it to David Ajayi and his people just to draw a cathedral building and supervise its construction. After spending...
So Justice Sophia Kufu spoke about how the government is not showing that it is doing anything to deserve the pensioner to support.
Exactly.
And she said the first thing, if you want to do anything about debt restructuring, is to look at what you have, and she says what you can cut.
Yeah.
And she's not seeing that.
And something, even before I talk about what you can cut, the first thing is to take responsibility for the problem. And to dismiss those who, through their actions and inactions, have driven us into this mess. You see, Kenoforiata is a very disease he's pretending to be curing. And so long as he continues in office as finance minister, we will be kidding ourselves if we think that we will get out of this problem. He must be dismissed, and the Bawumia chaired economic management team that has supervised this mess dissolved immediately. We need competent and credible hands to manage the crisis we have currently. That should be the starting point.
Well, the president thinks the competent hand is Kenoforiata.
And that is why we are here.
So his own party people have said what he should do. He says,
okay, if I can just conclude on these points. You see, as we speak, last year alone, in 9 months, government spent 15 million Ghana cedis on purchasing car tires and batteries at the presidency. They spent 51 million Ghana cedis on just fuel at the presidency in 9 months. They spent a whopping 4.8 million Ghana cedis on just one cabinet retreat. And another 6.5 million Ghana cedis, equivalent to 65 billion OCDs, on the procurement of new vehicles. They have paid Kari Summers 28.2 million Ghana cedis to coordinate the building of a biblical museum and a garden in these times. And all they have to show for these millions of monies they have spent on the so-called cathedral project is a big hole sitting in the center of Accra. What am I saying? I'm saying that until government set its priorities right, stop these reckless expenditures, sack Ken Ofori-Atta and dissolve the economic management team, and approach these discussions with honesty, candor, we are not getting out of this problem today or tomorrow. And so, I want to commend the Chief Justice and the pensioners. They must be supported, they must be encouraged. This so-called debt exchange program must be suspended forthwith. And all well-meaning Ghanaians, whether you are directly affected or not, you must join this struggle because it will affect you one way or the other.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Franka.
Brother, I thought we would look at the issues in detail and educate our people. We're not run straight into politics and all that. It's scoring politics.
You call this politics?
Etc. Anyway, that's not the point. First, let me react to the issue of the former Chief Justice. I mean, most of us kept referring to her as Chief Justice. She's not Chief Justice. She's the former Chief Justice, actually, from the discussion that we've had. She talked about the fact that government saw their area as a low-hanging fruit that could be easily harvested, and that's an opportunity that should not be taken advantage of, etc. Let me state my position on this matter. When it started, you remember, I don't know whether you do, that there was a statement from the Office of Attorney General, advice from the Office of Attorney General. Yeah. We've conveniently ignored this when we are discussing this matter, and for me, that was very pivotal to the resolution of this matter.
It's not ignored. If you want to emphasize it, then you do.
Let me do.
The advice that
it was very clear.
Voluntary.
Absolutely.
Yes, but we knew that the voluntary was not voluntary.
Yes.
I'm saying that the Office of Attorney General acted excellently on the matter. When I read the opinion, I gave thumbs up to Dami for that excellent advice. And remember that in our type of governance, it's very difficult for one minister to look the other in the face and tell him A or B. And that is even the reason.
Be sincere with your viewers that the Attorney General could have advised otherwise, that there ought to be a law to expropriate, unilaterally take away people's accrued rights, and there will be any law that will agree to that.
No, you're not.
So the Attorney General simply confirmed to the Finance Ministry and the government what the law allows and what the law does not allow. And he knows the law.
Yes.
And he could not have told them that you can do it compulsory.
Probably if you are allowed me to land, something.
Right, anyway.
If you are allowed me to land, you may not have brought this law interjection at all.
Okay.
What I was seeking to say is that it was a bold decision for him to have done that openly and then threw it out there for us to discuss.
Was there an option? That's my point.
In other circumstances in the past,
there an option?
There may not have been anything that will come out to us at all from the Attorney General's office. In the past, there have been circumstances such as this. You find no opinion from the Attorney General's office, especially if the Attorney General's opinion is contrary to what is being professed by the minister.
For example, you speak about the past. What example?
I'm saying that circumstances in the past, many circumstances in the past, we have seen situations where a certain position is taken by a minister of state or a government institution that you don't hear from the Office of Attorney General. And I'm saying that the advice you are talking about, Samson, hold it, that he could not have said otherwise. I agree.
Yes.
He could not have said otherwise.
Which lawyer will embarrass himself that way?
He could not have said otherwise. And he came out with that. But that also influenced the decision of the finance minister in revising his previous stance. It influenced it. Otherwise, the previous stance was what he intended to carry out from the beginning all through to the end.
That's not what I saw in the advice. In the advice, the finance minister did not say, I want to do this by compulsory, by legislation. The finance minister was saying, these options, what is your advice?
Yes.
And the Attorney General says, you can't use a legislative process.
Yes.
So, at all costs, you must do it through a voluntary process.
Voluntary process.
Yeah, so the finance minister did not say we are going to do it.
So when he actually gave this piece of advice to the finance minister, the things began to change. And that is why you have people like Senor Jose and others now revising their positions from the very previous intransigence that they actually carried out, which was legitimately within their rights anyway.
Intransigence?
Yes. Yes, I'm using the word, I mean, without reservation. You see, point is this, Samson. This debt exchange program. No. My personal opinion. My personal opinion.
This small point. Sincerely, that it was possible for any attorney general to think otherwise and say that regardless of your accrued rights.
I've said no. I have said no to you.
So there was
I don't need us to belabor the point. I've said no to that.
Okay.
You see, my position on this matter, and Samson, let me be very candid with you. I disagree with the finance ministry to a very large extent on some of those decisions.
Okay.
I don't support it. Especially on the pensioners. I don't support it at all. Because they are vulnerable people. My position is not that what I'm saying by virtue of this, what I'm espousing now, I am supporting hook, line, and sinker everything that is coming from the finance ministry. That cannot be. In fact, that is not, it will not allow me to go to have a peaceful sleep. Because I think that we should not be touching the pensioners at all. Look, some of the things that we saw, and I mean, looking at the age and the way they are vulnerable and all that, and the way they were exposed and etc., for me, it's so sympathetic. And it is unreasonable for us to insist that we would attach their funds and all that. That is my personal position on that matter. And I think that as we go on, the positions are being revised. Save what you have just put across, that he says, look, you can go to hell or whatever you want to do, you can do. There's nothing I can do about it. It's closed and etc. That is not the thing I got from the general thing. I think that the engagement needs to be enhanced so that we reach a consensus. We need to engage more and reach a consensus. And believe you me, this is a contract. If I enter into a contract
for the individual bondholders,
yes,
what he gave, so to speak, was that now all individual bondholders who are below the age of 59 years will be offered instrument with a minimum maturity of 5 years instead of 12 years and a 10% coupon rate. Then all retirees, including those retiring in 2023, will be offered instruments with a minimum maturity of 5 years instead of 12 years and 15% coupon rate. So this was what he offered. But some of them, almost all of them, largely still say, we are not interested. We just want an exemption.
You see, one thing that we seem to be losing sight of is also the fact that that is the man holding the kitty. And he's looking at the circumstances that we find ourselves in, the very serious economic circumstances we find ourselves in, and probably being realistic with the bondholders and trying to let them know that this is what is practical, and this is what is feasible, this is what is possible, this is what can be done to ameliorate the situation. Because remember that if you sign up to an agreement that you cannot implement, then of course you have deceived the other parties, and that will not be good enough. So he's probably being realistic with the people and saying that, look, we are going to carry out this exchange program, and this is the very realistic ways by which we can actually fulfill our side of the contractual bargain. And remember that if you enter into a contract with another party, and in this particular case, the state and then those individuals and institutions and etc., they've entered into these contracts, and the contracts are bound or are binding on the parties that have entered into it, except if you think that one party has acted in a manner that has infringed your rights and you can go to court to vindicate it.
Right.
But the circumstances of this matter, I think we should be very cautious. That the finance minister probably would not have just said that we are taking a certain decision without recourse to the fact that he's looking at the circumstances of our economy and what is in the kitty and how to be able to manage it going forward so that in trying to solve a problem, you don't create another one.
Yeah, there are those who are pointing out to you that in this budget, you are funding, you have actually increased your budgetary allocation for certain, projects that you could have reduced them in this situation. So this is where you could have saved money. You would have saved millions of Ghana cedis so that you don't have to worry these people.
Yes. Yes,
why is he not thinking about that?
That's a very good point you are making. But you remember also that we have Parliament. When these things get there, Parliament itself has the right to reject some of them. And they did reject some of the things in Parliament. You remember that even at the committee level, the allocation to the cathedral was rejected. You remember? And some other allocations were rejected by Parliament, and that's the representatives of the people.
All right.
So the finance minister doesn't carry the thing there and just dumps it and it starts operating. It is also for our parliamentarians to debate it, vote on it, and where they find that it is not in the public interest, get it defeated.
Right.
Samson.
Okay, so I'm sorry, but we have to take a break here.
Just a minute.
I'm sorry, we have to take a break here. We've spent quite a bit of time, and we have 2 more issues to look at. Newsfile is brought to you by Bank of Africa, strong as a group and close as a partner. MTN everywhere you go. Ashesi University, educating ethical and entrepreneurial leaders for Africa. Robert & Sons Optical Services, your comprehensive eye care service provider. My Way Insurance, dial *165# on the MTN to join. St. Thomas Eye Hospital, providing excellence in eye care. When we return, a bit of this discussion dovetails into the question of government not cutting size or downsizing, as is being called for by many. The Pentecost charismatic group have now joined that call. We'll be right back.